Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we talk about healthy relationships from a Muslim lens. I'm Zahra Hassan,
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 3 years now.
and let's get started.
Let's get started.
On this week's episode, we're going to tackle that topic that I know is at the top of every single woman's mind who has ever endeavored to find a husband. We're going to attempt to answer the question of why are men afraid of commitment?
Okay, that wasn't the question I thought you had.
What was the question it was going to be?
What's a man?
Okay, all right. I feel like we've answered that one before, but yeah, we're just gonna deal with what's going on with commitment and men. We've touched on this before,
Yeah.
as you pointed out before we started the podcast, but I think it's important to just dedicate an episode to this simply because this is the primary issue that comes up when with respect to anyone who's ever handled a client who is looking for a husband, whether that's a counselor, a therapist, a coach.
Yeah.
That's the number one issue. And the way we're going to try to approach this week we're going to start with a question and then spend the rest of the episode trying to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense?
Absolutely, it makes so much sense.
So
it makes absolutely a lot of sense.
So this question I found off of the Muslim marriage subreddit, but it is phrased so similar to the questions that I receive every single day that I thought, and for due to client confidentiality, I can't share the ones that the clients ask me directly. So we're going to use this as a surrogate. So here's the question.
Okay.
So this is a sister. She asks, why do some of y'all do this? She says, Salam. I noticed a pattern among some Muslim men, and I would appreciate some male perspective on this. I have had this happen like 3 times now, where a man will approach me only to back out or want to pursue things casually. You know my timeline even before things progress, and it's fine, and then oh, it's too much, or I want to entertain you and others at the same time. They don't want to commit, or they'd prefer to spend 2 to 3 years, depending on the guy, getting to know you while entertaining other people. They have this fear of missing out of this perfect person while all these good quality matches get taken. Why be on a matrimonial service or even approach anyone if you aren't serious or have plans to look for several years? Essentially, it's like you want to play the field and get the best catch, but you'll end up missing the best throw. Why do some men do this? I don't understand the logic of this. Alhamdulillah, this shows they aren't serious, but this is annoying and makes you feel bad sometimes. And she brings up a number of good points. But
Before we get there, though, she did miss an opportunity.
Yes?
She said you were looking for the best catch, but you end up
missing the best
you
throw.
mess up missing the best throw.
Yeah.
I feel like she could have done better with that. Like, you're so focused on the catch that you end up throwing instead.
Oh. We should write her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should. We just be like,
you're just gonna have to redo your post.
Absolutely. I mean, here's a whole podcast about this question. But this is an improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But what do you think about what it is that she said? Like, first of all, it's important that we state at the top that this isn't unique to men, right? That of course there is quite a few women who are on the map, who are accessing matrimonial services, who are on the dating apps, who are also not ready for commitment, the commitment and the responsibility of marriage. But today we happen to be talking about it from the men's perspective, and inshallah one day we'll talk about it from the women's perspective. So, given all that, what do you think about what she said?
There could be a type of person out there that isn't ready to get married yet. However, maybe they are perhaps saying that they want to practice talking to a woman so that when they do find the right one, that they will be more experienced and not mess it up, right? There are the type of people that aren't ready to get married right now, but will want to start talking to someone so that by the time they are ready to get married and ready to settle down, they'll have a person that they have in mind. Like, okay, here I am talking with these 10 girls, right? I like this girl and that's the person I'm going to pursue, and that's the person I'm going to try to step up my relationship with. There could be types of guys who are not ready to get married yet, but just for like a sense of self confidence, right? Might try to talk to a girl and have them express interest in him,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that way they can be like, I don't know, feel good about themselves. Or even more sinisterly, they could be like to bragging to their friends, yo, look at this girl, she's really into me.
Okay, so validation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely is a thing. I have seen it on the other end, right, where quite a few women that they do the same thing. But yet validation and reassurance that comes from the companionship that is offered from talking to people um, is something that has real, measurable, and tangible value, and that is a reason why some people will pursue commitment. Sorry, why some people will pursue these talking stages or courtships. Um, but are these men being honest about their intentions? Are
The ones that are not committing,
Yeah. Are they showing we'll just stick with the matrimonial apps, right? The
mm,
dating apps. Um they create a profile, they start swiping, they match with someone, they say Assalamu alaikum, I'm so and so. Are they going to be honest with their intention? That I'm just here to practice or I am just here looking for validation.
they won't tell you that,
What would they
right?
say? What did they say?
They'll be honest with their intention if they say, I'd like to speak to you for a couple of years before I decide to move on into like marriage or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or on their profile, they'll be like planning on getting married in 5+ years or something like
Mm-hmm.
that's a person who's being honest about his intentions,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's a person that you also don't want to spend time talking to.
Yeah, like from my experience, from what I've heard from clients and from my own personal experience on the dating apps, the ones who tend to be honest use phrases like we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
Right? When you ask them, okay, so you how long have you been on the apps and what are your intentions? And they'll say something like, well, I'm just looking to see what's out there
Yeah,
and I'll see what happens. So they use vague phrases to sort of communicate to you that I'm not looking for anything serious.
yeah,
In fact, sometimes they'll say not looking for anything serious.
yeah,
And it's important that when you hear somebody say that and you are looking for something serious, that you believe them,
yeah,
and that you walk away from them. Um, Sometime, but what has been my experience is much more often is that they will be less honest,
hmm,
right? Whether consciously or subconsciously, intentionally or unintentionally. Later on, you find out that this person wasn't interested in commitment, but they will present as someone who is. So when you ask them, what are your intentions? They'll say, my intention is to get married.
yeah,
And then when you say, what sort of timeline are you looking at? And they'll say a year. Sometimes they'll see 2 years, like you said, or
yeah.
3 years. Anything longer than a year should be a clue that this person might not be
I
serious.
said 2 years. I
Yeah,
didn't. I don't know if I said. Did I say 2 years?
I heard 2 years.
2 years.
We'll we'll
I
go
thought
back
I
and
said
take.
like 4 months, 5 months,
Oh
something
no,
like that.
no, not in you and me in real life. I'm saying for the
Oh,
ones who are not looking for a commitment. No, you said a time. I don't remember what it was you said, but it was a timeline that matched up with mine.
yeah.
We were eventually married within 4 months, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
But it was something that let me know that you were serious.
Yeah,
But there are sometimes people, the only clues that you'll have in that initial conversation is they'll say, my timeline is something longer than 1 year.
yeah.
So they'll say 2 years, 3 years. I don't want to rush into anything,
Essentially, here's
etc.
the problem with
Mm-hmm.
that, right? Like, you want to see it as sort of like a job interview
Yeah.
question,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where if you ask the person, um, where do you think this relationship is going to go
Mm-hmm.
in 5 years down the line, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
answer that should be a given, that should be an expected, is married, hopefully with children, Allahu Alam,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, on the way or already there, right? If they answer you with, we'll see what happens, you're like, sorry, you're not a good fit. Because if you don't have a goal plan to be married
Mm-hmm.
in under 5 years with someone,
Yeah.
why are you even talking to them?
It's true, but I think 5 years is way too long. I think that
5 years is way too long.
I think
Absolutely.
yeah, when people ask me this question a lot of what is a reasonable timeline,
Yeah.
right? The information that you need, if you are serious about marriage and you're speaking to somebody who is serious about marriage,
Yeah.
the information that you need can be gleaned in definitely under a year,
The
right?
information can be gleaned in like 2 or 3 talking sessions.
Yes,
Realistically speaking.
it depends on the context, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody will be in a talking stage with somebody who is extremely well known to their family.
Yeah.
So a lot of the unknowns and a lot of the questions are already answered, and it's more in answering questions about compatibility, capacity, things like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it'll be somebody who's completely unknown that you met on an app. They might be in a different state, province, country.
But they still have a family, right?
Yes, but sometimes there's also an issue of cross culturally. There might be a difference, so there isn't really overlap. It's harder to vet somebody like that.
Yeah.
And in a situation like that, because there's more risk on the table, the vetting process takes longer. You're
Right,
gonna
because
need
you'd be like cross cultural. You'd be like, I like to eat this type of food, and they're like, get out. Yeah.
depends on the culture. But yeah, so the vetting process takes longer. But regardless of the situation, right, within all contexts, definitely you should be under a year. Sometimes it can be as fast as a month. Sorry, at least a few months. So somewhere between 3 months to a year, depending on the context.
Yeah.
That's usually the timeline that I give. And anyone who's saying longer than a year, uh, might not be serious about commitment. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what I've understood to be some of the issues about why sometimes men are having difficulty with commitment. And then you just tell me I'm way off base
Sure.
or if there's some truth to it. Initially, when I started coaching, I was coaching primarily men,
Yeah.
right? And non-Muslim men who were struggling with their relationships or going through breakups, etc. That was the context in which I started coaching.
Yeah.
And so what I have learned from there is that men tend to decide whether or not they're looking for commitment independently of who it is that they're talking to. So this is a personal decision that they come to based on their personal circumstances.
Okay.
In today's age, the biggest factor is usually considered financial, but
Sure.
based on their own personal circumstances, their personality, their emotional mental state,
Yeah.
etc. At some point they decide, okay, now I'm ready for marriage.
Yeah.
Right? And that decision has already been made before they start talking to a woman, right? Or before they start pursuing somebody.
Yeah.
So is that true?
The way I see it, there are 2 sphincters.
Oh no.
Okay. Normal people would say gates,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
But like you'd have to push a gate to open,
Oh, okay.
right? But a sphincter is naturally just closed, and you just gotta relax for it to open.
Okay.
Right? So there are 2 sphincters. There's the first one that involves, as you said, a person who's not ready to get married, whether it is due to like financial issues, professional issues, all that kind of jazz, right?
Yeah.
That's the first one. Once you get past that one, you are correct. There is a second sphincter.
Okay.
That one has to deal with like if the person is not fully interested in getting married to someone, whether that's not the forefront of their mind, whether they're still unsure about that. But if they meet the right one, then that is going to loosen. They're going to be able to get through, right? But you can't get past the second sphincter without getting past the first.
I can't get past the metaphor. I'm sorry.
Should I say gate?
That would have been
Door?
yes,
All
literally
right,
anything else.
we're gonna say this in layman's terms. I'm sorry if you guys weren't able to understand my
Yeah.
professional lingo.
Let's say it. Let's pretend I understood. Let me know if I got it right. What you're saying.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. What you're saying is that there is an initial decision. So there's a two-stage process to this decision, right?
Yeah.
So there's an initial decision to say, okay, I am logistically ready.
Yeah.
Like the logistics check out. I
Yeah.
am capable of taking care of a family, at least in the general sense. And then
There's that could be a decision that was made, but there could also be a decision to say whether I'm ready or not, I'm going through with it. Both
Yeah, yeah.
Both decisions will get through that door.
And does this depend on whoever it is that they're talking to?
It depends on the person themselves.
So does this
It
talk?
has nothing to do with the person they're talking to.
That's what it is that I'm trying to understand. Because from
Yeah.
the woman's perspective, definitely from mine, when I was in talking stages,
Yeah.
and you know, a lot of people, they have core wounds related to self-worth, and we have these ideas that maybe love is something, or worth and love, and these are things that might have to be earned,
Yeah.
right? And because we're in this earning state of mind, we subconsciously accept it as a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody is initially presenting as they're not ready for commitment,
Sure.
based on the programming that we received at home, the programming that we received from literal television programming,
Yeah.
movies, everything, all of those rom-coms, that you can make him get ready.
Mm-hmm.
You can make him want to commit. You just have to be the right type of woman, right?
Yeah.
So it's that subconscious thinking is something that I really try. I had to, it took time for me to program myself out of, right? And it's information now that I'm carrying back to my clients and letting them know that you will never be able to change a man's mind.
Yeah.
He's either going to be ready or not ready, independent of you.
Independent of you. Yeah.
Independent of
So,
you.
like, to dumb it down even further,
Mhm.
right? Express it in layman's terms. If you're a race car driver,
Okay.
right, and you're trying to get to the finish line,
Mhm.
step number one, you got to get into the car first,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You got to decide, I want to enter this race,
Okay.
right? Step number two, you got to drive the car,
Mhm.
right? So if the man's not ready to race,
Mhm.
then why give him the green light?
Okay. I see it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's if there's no reason to move forward with somebody who is literally not on the same track as you.
Yeah.
Ah, see what I did there?
I see what you did
Yeah,
there.
it was
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
It
I'm
would have been
learning.
funnier if you said not in the same boat.
Okay.
Just subversion right there.
Yeah, just what vehicle is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, so inshallah, I hopefully we got that first point across. Now, this young lady, when she asked this question of why are people, uh, before we start to tackle of why are people accessing matrimonial services and when they're not ready for commitment,
Yeah.
let's start to go through some of the reasons, the common reasons that I've seen, the common reasons that you know of why will men shy away from commitment.
Yeah.
What are some of these reasons? Do you know?
If they're the type of person to enter into um, relationships outside of marriage, right?
Okay.
They will see marriage as a ball and chain,
Mm.
right? There are some people online, some influencers, streamers, YouTubers, that openly ask the question. They say, "Why are we getting married? What's the purpose of getting married? What? There's no reason to get married, right?" I think one comedian that I listened to recently has said that, right? And they don't understand it, that uh, they're already partaking in the privileges of marriage outside of marriage. So they've de-shelled marriage, right? They've eaten all the nutrients out of marriage, and now they're just looking at a husk, and they're like, what's the point of this?
Yeah. Why accept the responsibilities when you can have all the benefit without the responsibilities?
Yeah.
I think the people who are asking these questions don't fully understand what the benefits of marriage are, right? So they are focusing on one specific benefit. And inshallah, hopefully, without saying it, people understand what it is.
Yeah.
They're focusing on one specific benefit when there are many, many others. There are
Yeah.
many, many others. And anyone who has been in a happy marriage, inshallah, or even a difficult marriage, but happy marriages, will be able to tell you that it goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
It goes way beyond that. Like, it's not really our job to talk anyone into being ready for a marriage.
Yeah.
But when people ask me this question of what is the point of being married or what is the benefit of being married, the number one benefit that I say is support.
Yeah.
Just the complete support of having somebody of somebody being there to deal with life.
Yeah.
beside you, alhamdulillah, especially in this day and age, 2024, where we're about to be 2025, where we have so many layers of complications to life that didn't exist before, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And to try to manage that on your own is already a huge challenge, but having somebody there shoulder it with you that you trust, that completely trusts you and you trust in return is absolutely priceless, right? And irreplaceable. And there is a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed it for us. For that we created you in pairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a reason for that. So those are people, when people say, what is the point once you already have this one benefit? Those are people who don't understand what the benefits as a whole of marriage are.
Yeah. No, absolutely. They don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Yeah, so that's one response to that. So there is definitely a category of people who are concerned about being quote unquote tied down to only one person. You know, we're not going to speak on polygamy, but even within polygamy, there is some limit to the to how many people you can be around.
Yeah.
So there is that concern. Another concern that I see come up often is both from men and women, but again, we're talking about men, is this idea that what if I find somebody, I choose somebody, I marry them, I'm in the house with them, and then I get bored? That's a concern, right? For a number of people where they have this worry that I find out later on that maybe being married to this person is not what I want, or being married at all is not what I want, and now it's too late.
There are some people like that, right? And whatever's written for you is written for you, right? If it's your destiny to get married and then divorced, you won't be able to stop it, right? But people would more likely get bored in marriage if they'd had relations outside of marriage, right? Because if you're used to that certain lifestyle where your body count, for example, is like 3, 4, 5, or more than that, you're sort of programming your mind to not settle, right? You're programming your mind to not stick with one decision, right? It's, for example, before you had chocolate,
Yeah,
you never had a craving for chocolate,
I
right?
see. Yeah.
So, in that now you have relations outside of marriage and you've witnessed the pleasures of uh, engaging with a person and then another person and another person. Now it's like you've had chocolate, and so when you do get married, you're going to start craving, right?
I
So
see what you're saying.
that craving you might misinterpret as boredom. Or perhaps if you used to go out clubbing or something, now that you're married, you guys don't go clubbing, right?
Yeah.
Now you guys are settled down as a family, you might have cravings for the clubbing,
Yeah.
right? These lifestyles that you'll live when you get married, you'll miss them. That's why in the Western media, right, they say college years are the years that you experiment, you party, you go wild. And then when people get a little older, they have that midlife crisis because they realized that when I was younger, I used to do this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older and I'm a family man or a family woman and I'm just dealing with this, like golly, I'm going to die soon.
Yeah.
What has my life become? And their version of recapturing their youth isn't doing sports and things like that.
Yeah.
It's buying a fancy car, getting divorced, getting a girlfriend, and trying to relive their younger years of their partying.
Okay. So just the partying lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think that's related to there's probably some data, right? But it's probably related to training your brain for dopamine. It's probably related to dopamine. right?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna expand on that too much just because that requires another in-depth conversation. But it's the analogy of if you have, for example, the youngest generation, the newest generation, the alpha generation,
Yeah.
many of who for one reason or another grew up with devices, right? Whether it's cell phones or just or iPads or they grew up with YouTube at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And YouTube is something that is designed to hold on to your attention. And by they hold on to your attention by coaxing you with dopamine hits.
No.
And especially at such a young age, there is some evidence to show that this can affect your ability later on to be able to for other things to hold your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to, they say rewire your brain, right? But we'll say that you're just going to be different. Your attention span will now be different. What it is that what it takes for the same amount, what stimulant, sorry.
Well, it is rewiring your brain
Yeah,
because neurons get connected,
yeah.
and if you don't exercise those neurons, they'll eventually lose the connection. So you'll have other neurons, so the brain is getting rewired.
Okay. I apologize. Somehow words escaped me. I think I got the right combination of words now, right? In Shaa Allah.
Wonderful.
Okay. So, what wait. The what it takes to stimulate the same amount of dopamine release, right, is going to be different for you versus somebody who didn't undergo that sort of training.
Yeah.
There are people out there who can train their minds to have a sharper short-term memory
Yeah.
than other people. You can train your mind to do a lot, right? Both in the positive direction and in the negative direction.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, especially at a younger age, like you mentioned in your 20s, where you're still in your formative years, right? You're not going to be as responsive to similar stimuli, right?
Yeah.
So this is speaking from a secular place. If we start speaking from it from a religious place, when your heart is used to things that are haram,
Yeah.
or things that are forbidden, then it's not going to be as responsive to what is halal or things that are not forbidden,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that it's just from both points of view, you can train your mind or train your heart in either direction, positive or negative, right?
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a function of what you have been exposed to or what you've chosen to expose to yourself. So when people bring up this question of, I'm worried that I'm going to be bored,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes clients do ask me that, especially young women. I ask them, what is it that makes you excited now?
Mm-hmm.
What does your lifestyle consist of now? And if you were to get married, what would that ideal marriage situation look like? And this client might tell me something like, well, I really love to travel. I want somebody who travels a lot and frequently. I spend a lot of time out with my friends. I'm not really an introvert, I'm an extrovert. I go out a lot. I want somebody who's going to go out with me a lot. But what I'm worried about is that this person is not going to want to do all that. And if they do all that, they might not be interested.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on boredom, right? And the reality is that boredom is a part of marriage.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's absolutely a part of any happily married couple will tell you that
It's an ideal part of marriage.
Yes.
Boredom is supposed to be there, right?
Yes.
Not pervasive throughout the entirety of the marriage.
Yeah.
But the type of boredom I mean is the lack of randomness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The surprises, the bad surprises, like your type of boredom you want is when you're completely comfortable asking your husband or your wife a question where if they were of a different mindset, you wouldn't be comfortable. You'd think that they'd get angry at you,
Yeah.
right? Or you don't want to guess, are they angry at me? Or
Mhm.
things like that, you know?
Yeah.
The
safety.
type of boredom is like, this person's consistent. If I speak to them in this manner, they're going to respond in this manner, and they're not just suddenly lash out at me
Yeah.
because there was like this thing that they were resenting for the last 3 weeks that they just never let go, and they just didn't really realize
This is too
exactly
specific.
what.
This is way too specific.
No, absolutely not. No.
All right, so that's going to be a conversation later, inshallah. But until then, what you're describing is safety, right? Safety and consistency, and calm, right? So it's what boredom looks like, and how healthy marriages is. It's just calm and peaceful. What the boredom that they're speaking about, I think, is what if I am no longer interested in my spouse, right? What if that romantic sense, that romantic passion, dwindles? That can happen, right? That can happen if your marriage is an active process. It's not as a stationary thing.
Yeah.
It's dynamic, it's moving, and it is a process. And as part of that process, it requires from you input and investment. It requires daily investment, weekly investment, monthly investment. Just like if you start a business, you don't start a business and walk away. It's going to require from you repeated effort, daily,
Yeah.
monthly, weekly, etc. And as you do that, inshallah, it allows room for growth so that your marriage grows and the two of you grow, and inshallah, you're growing in the same direction. The boarding that person who's worried about getting married and is speaking about is usually, what if we grow in different directions, right? And of course, that can happen, and it does happen, and these have their remedies. They have their remedies. If it happens, you deal with it.
I mean, you do want to grow in different directions. If you guys grow into the same direction, the marriage is going to get boring.
There's a difference between, like, what I mean to grow apart so that there isn't
Yeah,
overlap.
well, yeah, you do want to also grow apart because no one wants to get fused
Well, yeah, but
with their partner. That's a medical nightmare.
just okay. They don't mean literally grow together.
How do
They
they mean?
mean is like more spiritually grow.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's
huh?
not physically grow together.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
my bad.
I'm so
Sorry.
glad.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, it's important that I
You know,
specify
like,
that.
like when you're sitting on something for so long,
Okay,
like it fuses to your skin.
is that common? Does that happen?
Oh yeah, people know about it.
Okay,
Yeah, people know
that's
about
not what I'm speaking about. When I say grow, I mean spirit, like the spiritual growth.
it. Yeah,
I don't mean the physical growth.
yeah.
I'm glad. So we sorted that out. I'm glad we specified it. But you understand
It's
what
the
I'm saying?
body's healing factor, by the way.
Yes.
Look it up. It's a
Okay.
real thing. If
Inshallah.
you sit on something for too long, like you have, if you're wearing shorts or something, if you sit on something for too long, your body will heal
Uh-huh.
onto the surface,
Okay.
so that when you get up, it'll peel.
Okay.
And that's what that stickiness is. It'll peel. There was actually this guy who was on a YouTube challenge who sat on a chair for so long. When he was getting up,
Oh, no.
bad things happened.
Oh no.
Yeah.
If there was ever an advertisement for a standing desk, that would be it. That would be the advertisement.
Don't let bad things happen to you.
There you go.
Stand.
But you understand what I mean by grow apart.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
I
yeah. So
understand.
that
Yeah, thanks.
people no longer
Yeah.
have time. There isn't as much overlap.
Yeah,
And what suffers is the connection.
I get
Right?
it. Like,
Yeah.
just like how there's distance and it'll take longer to talk to someone that's further away from you. When you grow apart from someone, it's going to take them longer for them to understand you.
Yeah, exactly. And as the connection dwindles, then then it just becomes much more difficult to relate to that person. I
Yeah.
understand it does happen. Clients come to me with that. There are remedies, right? So you can go see a coach, you can go see a counselor, a therapist. It's something that you can work on, but it is a risk that you accept because it is a risk that is doable, right?
And that leads us into the sponsor of our video.
We have sponsors?
No.
Okay.
But imagine
No.
if I would have said something like someonehelp.com
Yes.
or something, I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like
Yeah, no.
a therapy sponsor or something
No,
like that.
no, we absolutely.
And that brings us to our sponsor of our video.
Yeah.
Why don't you just get help?
Okay.
Go to therapy.
Go to-
You have a
Just
problem.
general therapy, not specific platform.
You just get help.
Okay, all right.
However you want to do it. You get help. Get out of here. Go.
Okay. No, first stay. All right. So that.
Get out of here. Go.
Okay. Let me Thank you. So first of all, we would never accept sponsorship from said company for multiple reasons.
Because they're not capable of helping you.
No, that's not why.
Oh,
There are some ethical concerns. There are some ethical concerns and reasons to boycott, and
get help.
it's on the list as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so back to commitment.
Yeah.
When we're speaking about commitment, so that's one reason for
Hold
commitment. When
on.
people are worried about whether or
Wait.
not,
Do we have to talk about this subject?
yeah,
Yeah, but I don't know. It seems like I'm not actually committed to the subject,
okay.
to be honest. Like, it's just not, you know.
Well, you're here now,
Okay, all right.
which is what marriage is.
Yeah.
Once you've signed a paper, you just get over it. You're here now.
So
So that could be your
you were
concern.
talking about commitment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Another reason why people are concerned about commitment, which is all of these are valid, right?
Yeah.
But this one, a lot of people resonate with is finances. They might not be financially ready, right? And which is perfectly fine. The reality is, just as I'll give an analogy, just as we women, right? A lot of society's value in us has the way that society values us is according to what we look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of men, the way the society values them is according to what their ability to provide.
Yeah.
And the truth is, the when you are meeting individual persons, we women tend to overestimate how we're supposed to look, like how thin we're supposed to be, how like whatever the parameters of beauty that are
Yeah.
supposed to be there, we tend to overestimate them compared to what men are actually looking for.
Yeah.
And for men, like when it comes to being financial providers, your financial state, probably likely going to overestimate it compared to what women are looking for. But
Yeah.
when I say women, I mean women who the type of women that you are looking for, right? Just like there are going to be men whose standards of beauty are really hard to achieve for most healthy women, there are going to be women whose financial standards are going to be very hard to achieve for most men.
Yeah.
And both of these are on the extremes of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of women are they're not looking for millionaires. And
Yeah.
the majority of men are not looking for models.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how that works. So it's as long I know for many of my clients and what myself, I'll speak about my standards. When I was looking for somebody,
Yeah.
my standards was that I wanted somebody who showed ambition. And I know this has been a hot topic term on the internet recently. What that meant personally for me is somebody who desired who was upwardly mobile wherever it is that they were at, right?
Yeah.
In their career, wherever it was that they were at in their schooling, that they were excited about moving. They had goals that they wanted to achieve,
Yeah.
right? Because that's how I am. I always have some sort of goal that I'm trying to achieve, some project, something that I'm working on. So somebody whose mindset was similar to mine.
Yeah.
And where it was specifically that they were in that point in life, I was absolutely in no place to judge because God knows I was not in where I wanted to be financially either.
Yeah.
Right? So I just wanted somebody who was willing to take on things with me so that they would be able to get to where it is that they're going, In Shaa Allah. And that's it was more of an abstract concept rather than some individuals like on the extreme ends we just spoke about who have a hard number and say I need you to have this salary
I had the goal of supporting you until like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Where my goals completely changed.
Oh,
right?
what happened?
So now I just let you do your own thing. I'm actually training because apparently it's easy to beat Mike Tyson.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Apparently. Like he's just gonna lose to you if he wants to.
You just reach out to Netflix and be like, this is what's gonna this.
Yeah, just go up to Mike Tyson and say, hey, listen, you wanna go on a losing streak? Let's go. I'm here, buddy.
2 for 0 for 2? Over to
No, he's got a huge record. Yeah, we can't call him 0 for 2.
Oh, that's there. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just in internet.
Probably like
fighters,
hundreds for like 5 or whatever.
Yeah, honestly, at some point, once you establish your record that much, it really doesn't matter what happens
But
beyond it.
I'm here, Mike. I'm
Okay.
here. I'm
Formal
ready.
challenge?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But inshallah, that's understood. Does that make sense? Sometimes
Yeah.
I know I'm a little bit vague. Does
Inshallah.
that make sense? So as long, realistically, as long as you are making a living able to support yourself, right? It's not hard to add another person to that equation.
Yeah.
Right? So I would not overestimate that.
Yeah.
And for many people, uh they are completely understanding of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Just do your best. Inshallah, your best is enough.
Inshallah.
That's it. Just do your best, and your best is enough. So boredom, we covered the fear of boredom. We covered the fear of finances. You covered very well the people who are looking for multiple people.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are those are tend to be the reasons
Mm-hmm.
for issues with commitment. So
Yeah.
now when we answer her question, the sister, she's asking why. Why is it that people who have these issues with commitment are now looking for people?
Oh yeah, I've already answered that.
Yeah, because they're looking for validation,
Validation. Yeah.
validation and reassurance.
Validation reinsurance. They're
Yeah.
also looking to bank. They're like, all right, let me just put this person into the bank. Okay.
Yeah.
Now when I'm ready, I'm just gonna draw them out of the bank. Oh my God, hey, it's been so long. How you doing, girl? How
Why
you
is that so
doing?
accurate? Why is that so accurate? Do you have any idea how often it is that, alhamdulillah, you're doing well, you've moved on, you reach the point where you're happy and you moved on, and that's when people start reaching out to you and say, Salam alaikum, sister, do you remember me? I'm so and so. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you like to resume where we left off?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real phenomenon.
Hey, how you doing, sister?
I was not ready for
It's
commitment before. I
it's
still am not.
me. Do you remember me in grade school? I loaned you like 25 cents a quarter.
Yeah.
You never paid me back.
Mhm.
Well, I guess we're getting married now. Buckle up. What, you're giving me the quarterback?
Okay. Okay. All right. No football joke. Okay. So that's what you're saying has a lot of truth to it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we've covered this on the episode about the dating apps, right? That the most common type of prototype of someone who isn't looking for marriage is someone who's not interested in commitment but is looking for companionship. And we've explained that companionship by itself has real measured value, that your time that you're spending with somebody um, is has real and measured value. And that's the only reason why they're looking for a companionship. So the advice is, brothers and sisters, if you know that you are not ready for marriage, right, and you be honest with yourself on whether or not you are ready for marriage. If you know that you are not ready for marriage, right, don't stay off the dating apps.
Stay off the dating apps.
Yeah.
You fools.
Oh God.
How dare you? How dare you think you can get
Okay.
on the. Do you think we're dumb?
Okay.
We know what you're doing. We know what you're up
Who's
to.
we?
I see you.
Who's
I
we?
see you texting them right now. Stop texting them. Get
Oh,
off the app. You gotta figure yourself out first.
all right. We're gonna take it easy on the people.
No, it's a trigger point,
Is
right?
that
Because
yeah?
first and foremost, they flood the market,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, you got all these people, and you're like, choices, choices.
Yeah.
But then when you talk to them, the person's like, yeah, I'm not really ready for a commitment.
Eventually.
Yeah, no,
They
eventually.
eventually say that,
They're
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm not ready. Yeah, Um, oh my God, is that a quarter?
Okay, okay, all right. Okay. But what I would, the reason why I would say all that is because, it is painful. It is painful that if you are out there and you are speaking to people and these people are attaching to you and they are investing in you and they are picturing a future with you and they're spending a month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes a year or years with you. This is you don't want to be held accountable to to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Yeah, because these people that you're speaking to are your brothers and your sisters in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be protective of their time and protective of their emotions. We don't want to be breaking other people's hearts. We
Same
don't
as
want,
everyone,
yeah,
non-Muslims and Muslims alike. You want
absolutely.
to be respectful of their time.
Yeah, so we want to non-Muslims and Muslims, but we want to be adding good things into the ummah, and we don't want to be just creating hurt and adding that into the ummah.
Yeah.
And so that let's say that you were in a talking stage with a woman that you knew you were not going to marry.
Yeah.
We'll say for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. And at that end, and then at some point it has to end and you end it. This is now a sister who has all of this trauma, relational trauma. She's going to be carrying that into her next relationship.
Yeah.
The next brother is going to have issue like that marriage is now going to have additional pain that it wouldn't have had you not done that, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to be adding, and then the children that they have are now going to be witnesses of that, and there might be generational issues.
Yeah.
So you don't want that on your soul. You don't want to be held accountable for that. You just let it go. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And
Frankly, what's most perplexing about this is the fact that you wasted their money.
Their money?
Yeah. Well, like, why did you make them buy a scuba diving outfit? Like, what was it all for?
It's a very specific joke that nobody will get except for me. It's unfair. All right, so this is from The Office, a very specific scene with Creed where he said, if I can't scuba, then what was it all for? All right, so I just needed to put that reference out there. But yeah, so inshallah that message is clear. If you're not ready, you're not ready. Let's not add hurt into the ummah, right? Or not add that. Let's not add hurt into other people's lives.
Yeah.
And if you are not ready, if somebody is not ready for marriage, so that brings us to the next question, actually, the last question for this podcast.
Okay.
Because he asked this question beautifully. This brother says, he says, it's again from the Muslim marriage subreddit, and it's titled, I want to get married, but don't want the commitment. Very simple. The brother says, I am a young 25-year-old male. I am interested in getting married, but I don't like it, but at the same time, I like it. How there's such a heavy commitment to the marriage. The brackets make it hard to read. He says, I'm interested in getting married, but I don't like how there's such a heavy commitment in the marriage. Okay. I understand the commitment is intended to protect both parties and etc. I understand why we aren't allowed to date, brackets, at least how non-Muslims do so. But at the same time, I'm afraid I'll choose the wrong person to marry. I'm afraid I won't like the person I marry. I'm afraid after 10 to 15 years, I won't like my wife or that we are always fighting and etc. Dating someone in this sense would be easier because there's not so much commitment. Of course, I don't date girls or mess around, but I'm just voicing my concerns without judgment. I am partly voicing my concerns because there is a girl. I genuinely would like to get to know. She's beautiful, religious, respectful, and all this great stuff. I've only had a general 5-minute conversation with her, but she's been in the back of my mind for months. I'm not sure if I'm coming to that stage to get married or if I'm immature or what. Feel free to give me an honest response. What would you say to this brother?
If you had the option to marry her for an hour, would you go through with it?
Let's say he says yes.
Like if it was completely halal and you had the option to marry her for an hour, would you consider that a heavy commitment?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay. So like when we pass on from this life into the next life, our entire life is going to be seen as 1 hour of a day.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's going to be seen as that short. So is it really a heavy commitment?
No and yes. I think it is, yes, because the reality is it will feel like an hour at that time. Yeah. But right now, it doesn't. Right now, there is the responsibility of caring for another person and potentially other people that come along, children, and potentially other family members. Right?
It only seems like a heavy commitment if you see inherent bad in those actions, right? It only seems like a heavy commitment if it's something that you have to struggle to do, you know?
So how would we, so his question is, this is what my issue is that I'm worried about commitment for all the reasons I stated. But there's this girl who I've had a 5-minute conversation with, and I keep thinking about her. Should I pursue some sort of talking stage with her? So should he pursue a talking stage with her?
If he's worried about commitment with this girl?
If he's worried about commitment in general, notice everything he said about commitment had nothing to do with her, right? He didn't say, I'm worried about committing to her.
Yeah.
He said, I'm worried about commitment in general, which is the point we made at the top of the
Yeah.
podcast. So, my answer, if I were to answer this question, I would say, no, don't talk to her.
Yeah, if he's not ready for commitment, then don't commit.
Yeah, just don't talk to anybody, right?
Yeah.
Which the reason I chose this is to make that point, make it really really serious, because the people, whenever the expectations are removed,
Yeah.
right, when the expectations of having to provide and to protect and to do all of the things that come with being responsible in a marriage, then it becomes very easy to see and understand what the benefits are.
Yeah.
I'm speaking about other than physical intimacy.
Yeah.
The other non-tangible benefits become very easy to see, and people seek it out.
Yeah.
Which is what he's seeking out. He's
Yeah.
saying that I like her,
Yeah.
right? And I can't stop thinking about her, and I would like to be around her and have her companionship.
He's looking for a girlfriend, not a wife.
He's looking for somebody to be in a, let's assume the best.
Yeah.
In a halal talking stage temporarily until he...
Indefinite.
Yes, exactly. Without a... but halal talking stage,
Yeah.
right? So given that, it's easy to see what the benefits are when the expectations are not attached. So that is evidence that there is a real benefit to your time, sisters. Or so I'm speaking to the sisters in this case. We'll do another podcast for the brothers later. So there is, for the sisters who are out there and coming across people who are not committed, and they're wondering, well, why is he talking to me? This is why. Because he doesn't have to meet any of your real expectations. He's not accountable to you in terms of responsibility. He understands what the benefit is of your companionship. Your companionship has real value, and that's what it is that this brother is pursuing.
Yeah.
So, two things for this brother. Number one, if you are in doubt about your intentions to commit and to enter and to get married to anyone, period, don't talk to anyone, including this sister, right? Because if it was your sister, if she was your literal sister, you wouldn't want anyone talking to her unless they were serious about marriage.
Yeah.
Second piece of advice. The primary issue that he has with commitment is that it's what we spoke about earlier. He said that he's afraid I'm afraid I'll choose the wrong person to marry. I'm afraid I won't like the person I marry. I'm afraid after 10 to 15 years, I won't like my wife, or that we are always fighting, and etc. He's worried about being bored or the marriage not working out. This is a part of the risk that we accept when we are choosing somebody. So again, with the business analogy, when you start a business, you're accepting the risk that it might fail.
Yeah.
You are trusting in yourself, in your ability to do everything you can for it to succeed, right? And to do everything that you can for it to succeed, but you are accepting the risk that it might not, despite your best efforts.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Nothing worthwhile in life, in this dunya, will come without risk.
Yeah.
And that doesn't. And if you ever want to understand what the benefits are for marriage, you talk to happy couples.
Literally.
Yeah, you talk to happy couples. Most of them are not on the internet, but that's who you talk to.
So I'm going to insult men and women here with my example.
Okay.
Test driving a car.
Interesting.
Okay?
Interesting.
So when you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, the analogy that they give is test driving a car. Right?
Oh yes, subhanallah.
And they say, why do you want to buy the car outright without test driving? You should test drive the car. Make sure that you're compatible with the car. Make sure the car has the same sync as you, right? Make sure the car is driving the way you want the car to drive. And then once you found your right car, then get married, right? With that experience. It's actually gotten to the point now where being a virgin is seen as a negative in dating, you know?
SubhanAllah.
So what I would rather say is, instead of test driving the car, as in getting in the car and driving the car,
Okay.
what you should do is you should window shop the car, right?
Okay.
You should talk to the manufacturer of the car, right? The
Mm-hmm.
parents, right?
Yeah.
You just tell the car, you ask the parents, does this car act up? You know,
Okay.
does this car treat you right? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
is this car a good person? You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and if the parents actually care for the child,
Yeah.
they would tell the truth
Yeah.
because they want compatibility,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If I had a child and that child was a rude boy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I would tell the person, I'd be like, listen, you're gonna have a tough time with this person. They are argumentative.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for someone to argue with, or if you're looking for someone to that will constantly debate you, then this is the right person for you.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
if you're the type of person that doesn't like a healthy back and forth, a healthy dialogue, challenging of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
then you should move on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because what'll happen is you'll get a person that will always argue
Mm-hmm.
versus a person that will never want to argue. And now it's going to be like there might be some resentment at the bottom of the person that never argues because they're always going to be giving in, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to test drive the car. You want to ask the parents.
The manufacturers. See, I already know what they would say.
And what would they say?
Is it's very hard to put this into words, but so I'm gonna be vague. I'm gonna be
It's
vague.
easy to put this into words. So what they
Yes.
would say, who are you and why are you in my house?
No. They would say what they're test driving for the car for
Yeah.
is not really what the parents can speak about. Do you understand?
I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
right? But that's the Western.
That's what they're yeah, that's what they
That's
mean.
what the Western types are
Yeah.
test driving for. You
Yes.
know, the non-Muslims or the non-religious,
Yeah.
right? Because there are religious people of other faiths
Yeah.
that look for marriage before anything
Yes.
of that nature,
Yes.
right? But that's not what we're talking about here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
You're talking about compatibility.
yeah, 'cause they're looking for compatibility in the wrong direction, right? But what they need is compatibility of the spiritual sense, the emotional sense, the logical sense,
I see.
right?
I see.
Psychological sense.
Yeah.
Whatever else happens, that's life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's life. But you don't want to spend the rest of your life with a person you're not compatible with.
Yeah, I understand, which is literally what we've been teaching from every single episode of this podcast
Yeah.
and what it is that we focus on teaching all my clients of how to choose somebody that you are compatible with, who has the capacity to build a healthy marriage, who has a good character and you have a good connection with. So those are the things that you are selecting for. Some of it that information you can attain by asking the parents. A lot of it you're going to attain by just watching the person. Right?
Yeah.
Just by paying attention and observation. If you
Like,
know
I'm
it,
going to give you an example that makes it crystal clear what I'm talking about. Like, crystal clear.
okay.
Suppose, right? Would you rather drive a car that your parent or manufacturer said, this is a good car, it'll drive beautifully, but it'll break down from time to time,
Yeah.
right? You're going to have to help. You're
Yeah.
going to have to repair it, right? Or would you rather drive a car that drives perfectly well? You'll never have to fill it up on gas. You'll never have to do maintenance, right? But it tells your secrets to its girlfriends.
It's a very specific car. Is it a Honda?
Well, which car would you drive?
The first car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, that kind of compatibility doesn't matter
Yeah.
if the personality is down the drain.
Yeah, I see what it's character. You're
Yeah.
speaking about character. Character flaws. Yeah, I agree. So parents, they do tend to be honest about so when you have a conversation with parents during whichever number meeting that you are with your partner, parents tend to be fairly honest. right?
Yeah.
I know, like, my mom was very honest with, and my dad were very honest with the people who would
Yeah.
come and seek us out. And as you well know, they'll tell them, you know, my daughter is, et cetera, the very best human being on this planet,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah. But if she doesn't like something, she will leave.
Yeah.
So it's a she will they are very straight up forward with what my quote unquote toxic trait is, right?
Yeah.
Toxic traits are. So speaking with the parents definitely does help. But if we were to just tie a bow and wrap up a conversation on commitment, it is true that there is a large number of people who are in the dating market, right? In the matrimonial market, who are not interested in commitments, but are interested in companionship. And inshallah, this episode was hopefully able to eliminate some of the reasons why. That's
Inshallah.
inshallah. That's some of the reasons why. One of them being that they are they don't want to be limited in the type of lifestyle that they lead, right? Another one is that they're worried about boredom or the overall success of the marriage. Another one is whether or not they'll be financially be able to provide, etc. What's important to notice is that none of these reasons have anything to do with you. So that if you are in a talking stage with somebody and you've been speaking to them for 2 or 3 months and they say, you know what, this is just not going to work out, or many times they'll be honest with you and say, you know what, I found out that I'm not ready for commitment,
Yeah.
and I need to spend more time on myself. That's usually exactly what they mean, all right? And that the reason why they're not ready for commitment has nothing to do with you. If there was a place where you can improve, is to be able to learn how to recognize the people who are not ready for commitment earlier on. And I recommend the episode where we talked about how to use the dating apps, where
Yeah.
we reviewed some telltale signs using the dating apps. But recognize the people who are not ready for commitment earlier on, and I promise you this will save you so much headache, so many wasted talking stages, a lot of money in makeup, a lot of gas money, etc. It is worth your time. So when clients come to me and they ask me, they say, I've been looking and I've been searching, what is something that I can do? What is the most effective thing I can do? The most effective thing you could do with the highest rate of return on your investment is to learn how to spot people who are not looking for commitment.
True.
Yes, which is why we did a whole episode,
Yeah.
for you to try to understand that. Um, so that was this episode. Is there anything else that we should mention on the topic?
Yeah. For the woman, it's a cheat sheet on guys. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, if a guy says nothing's wrong, that means that nothing's wrong, right? So you don't have to ask them multiple times.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. You don't have to ask them multiple times if something's wrong because they'll tell you if something's wrong.
Uh-huh.
If a guy says that he's hungry, it means he's hungry, right? But if a guy says that he's not hungry, take him out back and shoot him.
Why?
He's not right in the head.
Okay, subhanAllah. All right, so you're saying all that because we literally had a conversation where I repeatedly asked you what's wrong, and you said there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So you're not just
I'm
telling on
chilling.
me to the people. All right, that's
Yeah.
that's
First
fine.
of all, I never told on you to the people.
Yeah, that's true. I did,
Yeah.
but yes,
No, I did because I
Yes.
said hint, hint, wink, wink.
yes,
But I wasn't talking about you.
of course not.
Per se.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, I
I was talking
understand.
about a different person.
I think what you're saying, I understand. What you're saying is that if a man says he's not ready for commitment, it means he's not ready for commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if a man says that he's ready for commitment and he's still not married to you, or he's not trying to get married to you, or he's not already made plans, or he hasn't proposed or anything, it means he's not ready for commitment. If a guy says, yeah, I'm ready to get married, I'm ready to get committed, yeah, and then like a week passes and nothing happens, you're like, what is wrong with you?
Okay.
What is your issue?
Okay. All right. Maybe don't
You
take that
you need
far.
to get help, and that leads us to the sponsor of our video.
You really want those people. We really, really don't. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So alhamdulillah, inshallah, that was understandable in some sense. We want to say Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, If you haven't already subscribed to the video, please subscribe. It really, really does help us out to make sure that what we're saying reaches more people, which is honestly our goal for this podcast, is to make sure that as many people as possible have the right information, inshallah.
Yeah.
If you are a young woman and you are exhausted of the dating apps, believe me, I understand. I have a free dating app training, 1 hour webinar for Muslim women. A link to that can be found in the about section of the YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, a different platform, it's also a link to that is in the description. You'll also find a link to the free webinar on my Instagram at Zahra Hassan Coaching.
And you want to be fast with it, because in the next coming weeks, it's not going to be free webinars anymore. There's actually going to start being paid webinars.
Oh.
So take advantage of it while you can. Get in while it's free, because if you wait too long, you're going to have to start paying for them.
Yeah, what he says is true.
Yeah.
Give them a fair warning.
Fair warning, guys.
Yes. All right.
Fair warning.
Okay. But In Shaa Allah, I try to make it as accessible as possible. So we want to say Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.